The wedding planner sent the seating chart as a PDF with pastel fonts that implied no one would cry at table 9. The chart made promises I'd learned not to trust. My sister, Lena, was marrying a good man who laughed at his own puns and treated her ambition like a plant he wanted to water. I was proud of her and allergic to hope in equal measure. As for my own marriage, the RSVP we'd sent read too, but lately everything between Ava and me had felt like a one-way street with charming signage. I noticed it when I walked in on her laughing at a text with the kind of delight that belonged to early episodes of us. She said it was a meme. The phone lit her face like a small stage. Later, I saw the same expression at dinner when her screen tapped the table twice, a coded knock from a world I wasn't in. Love makes optimists out of historians. I told myself I was misreading. Then the messages grew longer. So did the silences that followed them. On the day of Lena's wedding, the hotel smelled like flowers with a budget. Guests posted stories of themselves sipping champagne that considered itself a personality trait. I put on the suit my tailor described as a quiet yes. Ava emerged in a dress that turned heads and then didn't apologize. She adjusted my tie, kissed my cheek, and told me we'd be okay. The sentence did not ask for my opinion. During the ceremony, the officiant talked about patience and humor as if they were spices you could add until the soup tasted right. Ava cried in the correct places. She held my hand with dutiful warmth. When the vows ended, people whooped. The air learned confetti. I clapped in the rhythm of a man applauding his own future. At the reception, I made a study of the DJ's playlist to avoid making a study of my wife's eyes. Kids slid across the dance floor like honest opinions. I danced with my mother, who sniffled and called me handsome through the soft focus parents reserve for their mistakes. Ava danced with the groomsmen in a rotation that was almost mathematical. Polite, polite, a little too close, polite again. Then she danced with one of them twice. He was the kind of man who prefers short sleeves to show he exercises. He laughed with his entire mouth. He had a tattoo that tried very hard not to mean nothing. When the second song ended, he followed Ava to the terrace as if the night had sent him an engraved invitation. I counted to 30 because dignity likes numbers. Then I followed, not because I wanted a scene, but because something inside me had decided scenes weren't the problem, secrets were. The terrace held smokers, conspirators, and people who needed fresh air between bad decisions. I found a corner near a potted tree and listened. Ava's voice was low and familiar. His was eager and impressed. I heard words like chemistry and finally and private, and hated that none of them were adjectives for the stake. They moved toward the back where the lights conceded to the night. I took out my phone. I didn't record. I opened the seating chart instead and looked at the names as if rearranging strangers could restore something inside me. The ring of a text came in from an unknown number, a photo of Ava on the terrace from some other earlier angle with a caption that read, "She's not subtle." I looked around for a camera lens and found eyes instead, the DJ's, watching me from the booth. He came over, all black shirt and competence. "You okay?" he asked, a question bouncers learn to ask in 3 syllables or fewer. "I will be," I said, which felt brave and also like a placeholder. He held up his phone. "You want me to kill the lights out here for 60 seconds, gives you control of the stage." I almost laughed. "What are you, a theater tech for weddings?" "Among other things," he said, with the modesty of a man who knows exactly how many times he has rescued a party from itself. "I see things. I fix what I can without making it about me." "Can you make it about me for 1 minute?" I asked. He nodded and walked back to his island of buttons. The terrace lights dimmed. The music shifted into the kind of slow song that makes people remember who they promised to be. Guests drifted inside to misremember lyrics together. In the relative dark, I found Ava and the groomsmen behind a pillar pretending to be architecture. They weren't kissing. They were rehearsing the alibi of not yet. "This is not the place," I said, and my voice did not betray me to anger. "This is my sister's wedding." Ava flinched, then straightened. "No," she said, "this is Lena's wedding. Ours has been on pause for a while, you know that." "I know we have problems," I said. "I didn't know you were auditioning for the role of someone else's spontaneity in front of my entire family." The groomsman lifted his hands like a man volunteering to be innocent. "We were just talking." "Sure," I said. "Practice run for a worse idea." Ava's mouth did the brave thing it does right before she says something that will hurt us both. "I feel alive around him," she said. "I haven't felt that with you in months." The sentence landed with less force than I expected. Maybe because I had rehearsed it in my head, just with different actors. "Aliveness is not a moral defense," I said. "It's a weather report." The DJ raised the lights incrementally as if the room were deciding to tell the truth. In the doorway, I saw Lena watching us with concern she was too kind to weaponize. I didn't want her night bent around our breakage. I turned back to Ava. "We're going to get through tonight with grace," I said. "Tomorrow we can decide about everything else, but tonight we will not be the show." She stared at me like she was trying to remember how I prefer my coffee. "Okay," she said finally, "I can do that." She looked at the groomsman. "Go dance with someone else." He did, relieved to be given choreography. Ava and I stood together with a space between us the size of our last 6 months. Then we went back in and played our roles. Toast, laugh, pose, pivot. I danced with my sister and told her the story of how, when she was 6, she tried to fix my broken toy by hugging it. She said she still believed in hugging as a solution, and then made me promise to keep a soft heart even on sharp nights. I promised because sometimes promises are the only tools you have that aren't knives. After the cake, after the bouquet, after the kind of karaoke that should be illegal near cameras, guests trickled away. The DJ packed up cables with the solemn efficiency of a surgeon finishing a shift. He caught my eye and tipped his head toward the terrace. We stepped outside to the place where the air still remembered our conversation. "I rewired the ending for you," he said, handing me a USB drive. "Speeches, first dance, your toast to your sister, and nothing else. If anyone posts terrace drama, it won't be because of me." "You didn't have to." "I did," he said, "because weddings are for the people getting married and you two weren't them tonight." He paused. "Also because I've been the groomsman twice. It never ends like the song says." I pocketed the drive. "Thanks," I said, meaning more than that. Ava joined me, eyes small from crying or from finally letting truth sit down. "I'll stay at my sister's tonight," she said. "We can talk tomorrow without this dress between us." "Tomorrow," I agreed. We stood there for a minute looking at the city pretending to be calm. She touched my hand, not to hold it but to confirm it was real. Then she left. The next day we rewrote our guest list for a different kind of event. The kind where 2 people invite their better selves to show up. We didn't declare winners. We did inventory. We found the places where resentment had packed boxes while we weren't looking. I told Ava I could forgive once. She told me she could be simple on purpose if I could be present on purpose. We drew lines around flirtations like they were electrical outlets near a bathtub. We promised to name our loneliness out loud. Months later, I watched Lena and her husband host friends in their tiny apartment with the kind of joy that spills and doesn't ask the carpet's permission. Ava handed me a drink and touched my wrist with the grace of someone who remembers the terrace and chooses daily not to take us there. Our marriage did not explode or evaporate or triumph in a montage. It did something better. It learned to be ordinary again, with moments of aliveness that didn't require ruins. The DJ sent us a link to a playlist he called Guest List, Revised. We danced in the kitchen to a song that wasn't about cheating or regret. It was about staying, which doesn't trend but does build. When it ended, Ava rested her head against my chest and said, "I like how your heart keeps time." I told her it learned from her sense of rhythm, and for once neither of us had to pretend we were being poetic.